Better show yourself, Vicky. So everyone will know your folks wife. First Lady of the PBA. May I now call on Manong Pope, Ronald Olivar Solis, President of the Philippine Bar Association.
Thank you very much, Pina, for that very lovely introduction. The Honorable Juan Edgardo M. Angara, our guest of honor and speaker. Honorable Justice Magdangal de Leon, other judges of our courts, other distinguished public servants, my fellow members of the PBA, friends of the PBA, ladies and gentlemen, let me first greet you with a pleasant evening. The PBA is now ushering into its 121st year of existence. As the PBA anthem we sang a while back proudly proclaims, we are the PBA, heirs to a glorious past. For indeed, you only have to browse through the history of the PBA as it is written in the souvenir program you are bringing home tonight to know that the PBA has stood the test of time in its quest to be in constant watch to uphold the rule of law. To all the ideals and advocacies of the PBA, which it holds through the years as sacrosanct, your present leadership would remain committed. But the world is now on the second decade of a new millennium. During the last 10 years or more, a different genre of globalization has taken shape that challenges the way how the PBA and its members, or for that matter, every Filipino lawyer ought to think and work. The era of the internet and the rapid concomitant growth of information and communication technology, or ICT, push us to get out of our traditional comfort zones and confront this new form of globalization. A Pulitzer Prize-winning author has made an interesting proposition to what he called the third type of globalization, or globalization version 3.0, which is currently happening in the world. He said the first type of globalization, or globalization 1.0, occurred in the 17th century when explorers first circumnavigated the world and established colonies in the name of God, king, or country. Suddenly, the vast unexplored colonies shrank from a size large to a size medium. Globalization 1.0 was about countries and muscle. It was global integration propelled by how much horsepower, wind power, or later by how much steam power your country had. It is globalization dictated by how strong your country was. In globalization 1.0, the basic questions were, how does my country compete globally? How can I go global and collaborate with others through my country? How can I go global? Then, in the late 1800s to the year 2000 came Globalization 2.0, the era where countries were no longer the key agents of change, but rather it was now the multinational companies that became the dynamic force which drove global integration. The world further shrunk from a size medium to a size small. Global integration was driven by breakthroughs in hardware, from steamships and railroad in the beginning to telephones and mainframe computers toward the end. The big questions in this era were, where does my company fit into the global economy? How can I go global and collaborate with others through my company? The present form of globalization, or globalization 3.0, the author argues, involved a different dynamic force, the thing that gives it a unique character. That is the newfound power for individuals to collaborate and compete globally. Global integration now is no longer dictated by a country's muscle or how much or how many hardware one's own, but rather by software and all its applications in conjunction with the World Wide Web. Thus, the world is further reduced from a size small to a size tiny, where everyone is our virtual next-door neighbor. Individuals must and can now ask, where do I fit into the global competition and opportunities of the day, and how I can, on my own, collaborate with others globally. The new globalization, which is no longer just countries and multinational companies globalizing, but now the individual just as well, has flattened the playing field, prompting the prize-winning author Thomas L. Friedman to conclude in his prize-winning book that indeed the world is flat. Is the Filipino lawyer ready for this new kind of globalization? In this age of internet, the various software applications and fiber optics and broadband networks that bring you connected with the rest of the world in real time, is the Filipino lawyer as an individual ready to compete globally? As lawyers, do we exert the effort to understand this paradigm shift and adapt it to stay relevant and globally competitive? More importantly, as leaders of society, do we take time out to learn what appropriate policy trusts that government ought or should institute in the information age to ensure that our dynamic ICT infrastructure and services grow constantly and remain globally at par and competitive? By this time, I'm sure that many lawyers in this room have started to wonder what Mr. Solis is talking about. It is true that I deviated from the usual topic lawyers are fond of talking about, and therefore different from what you traditionally hear from an inaugural speech in the PBA. However, some techie-savvy lawyers here among you, both old and young, recognize that the internet and the vast amount of knowledge, information, and networking that it brought about have challenged the traditional way of how we do our work as lawyers or how we practice our profession. My invited friends from the ICT community, where are you, my colleagues from PTEP? There you are. They would call this new globalization process a disruptive technological revolution. Disruptive because it disturbs our traditional way of looking at things or completely changes the traditional we do things. Perhaps one simple example to cite for us lawyers is the shift from our traditional way of getting in touch with our clients abroad. Whereas in the past, we resort to sending letters through the snail mail, or we make expensive overseas telephone calls. However, in the present, we correspond in real time by email or by free teleconference via Skype or Yahoo Messenger. The problem, however, with this new disruptive and dislocating technology is the very fast speed at which change is being made. As Friedman aptly described, this flattening process is happening at warp speed and directly or indirectly touching a lot more people on the planet all at once. Those who fail to adapt to the rapid changes do not do so because they are not smart or unaware, but because the speed of change has simply overwhelmed them. And that is why, according to Friedman, the great challenges for our time will be to absorb these changes in ways that do not overwhelm people, but also do not leave them behind. In addition to what it has been traditionally doing in its glorious past, to constantly uphold the rule of law, I would like to steer the PBA to a meaningful recognition of this new form of globalization. During my watch, I would like to see members of the PBA engage in sustained and instructive discussion of information and communication technology, or ICT, and how it propels this new version of globalization. We will hold forums where we would invite the IT experts in a healthy exchange of ideas where law and technology converge. As we plan to provide MCLE programs for our members, listen to this, Pina, we will design modules that bring these technological concepts to the lawyer's level of practical understanding and everyday use. We hope to educate the Filipino lawyer and help him absorb ICT in useful ways in his profession, so that at the end of the day, technology will not overwhelm him or leave him behind. Actually, the Filipino lawyer did not look beyond the Philippines for some exciting and lucrative prospects in this new form of globalization for his law practice. According to the respected Canadian ICT research group, XMG Global, the Philippines, with a population of 91.9 million, is currently ranked third in the global business business process outsourcing, or BPO market, with revenues expected to reach $10.7 billion this year, or 7.4% share of the world outsourcing market. Next only to top-ranked India, but with a population of 1.21 billion, with estimated global take of $61.5 billion or 42.5% of the market, and second-ranked China, which has the biggest population of 1.33 billion, with $45.7 billion or 31.5% of the global outsourcing revenue for the year 2011. In fact, in the call center business alone, which is just one of the many outsourcing opportunities, the Philippines had already upstaged India as the #1 call center hub in the world, with the revenues reaching 5.7 US dollars, 5.7 billion US dollars for the current year. This is partly due perhaps to the more coherent diction of the English language of our call center workers. Presently, the outsourcing business has created 530,000 jobs to our countrymen. In terms of contribution to the country's foreign reserve, it is second only to the foreign currency remittances of our OFWs. The industry projections, according to the roadmap prepared by the Business Processing Association of the Philippines, or BPAC, will be 26 billion US dollars in revenues and will provide 1.3 million jobs for the Filipinos by the year 2016. This growing outsourcing industry has intricate and unique legal problems and needs that require professional attention by technologically adept Filipino lawyers. In some ways, the outsourcing industry also provides analogous business opportunities for Filipino lawyers, such as outsourced transcription of legal documents and legal research. But amidst the amazing growth of ICT industry in the Philippines, the question that I now pose is that, is the government providing the needed policy trust and regulatory environment that will ensure that the industry will remain globally competitive? You see, the Philippines is the only major country left in Southeast Asia without a cabinet-ranked department devoted to ICT. In 2004, an executive order was promulgated by then-President Arroyo, creating the Commission on Information and Communication Technology, or CICT, a level notch below that of a regular cabinet portfolio. Proponents of a department-level agency that will address the concerns of the ICT industry have since lobbied Congress for the creation of a Department of ICT, or DICT. However, in a move that surprised the ICT industry, President Noynoy Aquino, in another executive order issued in June just this year, abolished the CICT and relegated it to a mere sub-office in the DOST, to be headed by an undersecretary, but to be supervised by the DOST secretary. The Malacanang announcement of its abolition came just a day after the CICT launched its comprehensive Philippine digital strategy in public ceremonies attended by the movers and shakers of the ICT sector. And 5 days after Pinoy signed the appointment papers of one of the commissioners of the abolished CICT. The ICT sector also lamented that no prior consultation was made by the executive with the industry. As the erstwhile CICT chairman Ivan Uy said, the president may have possible good reasons to abolish CICT, but the attendant confusion reveals that there seems to be no real, cohesive and coordinated government strategy on ICT. The proponent of the ICT bill, which remains pending in the Senate, Senator Edgardo Angara, was interviewed to have remarked, ICT is a sunshine industry with enormous potential in investment and job generation. It deserves no less than a cabinet portfolio. This is an ironic move that sends the wrong signal to the industry about how much or how little we prioritize ICT in this country. You heard the name Angara. Yes, there is a reason, not so altruistic, why we chose the worthy son of an illustrious father to be our guest of honor and speaker tonight. Representative Sonny Angara is a sophisticated lawmaker, an adroit young lawyer who understands ICT and what it needs in terms of legislative and executive crutch. He is also a member of the Committee on ICT in the lower house. Aside from his father, he could be our champion for the cost of ICT industry in the Philippines. Who knows, just like his father before him, Sonny could be Senator of the Republic in the not-so-distant future. Earlier, you witnessed the relaunching of the PBA website. We hope that with its new features, coupled with the announcements made tonight, will generate more interest and site visitations from our members. I would like to mention too that just last week, the national leadership of the IBP has launched its National Center for Legal Research, designed to be the online research hub for all lawyers, and the casebook as the social networking site for all lawyers. The PBA hopes to establish linkages with the IBP on this. Later tonight, many young lawyers will be inducted as new members of the PBA. We hope that with their addition to our ranks, will usher in a more focused interest in ICT and the new form of globalization. Next, it is worth mentioning that the leadership of both houses of Congress had made a clarion call for open debate and discussion on the need to revisit the economic provisions of the Constitution. The underlying objectives are the enhancement of competitiveness, generating more investments and creating more jobs. And although the PBA has not made a clear stand on this yet, I personally would like to echo the sentiment of Speaker Feliciano Belmonte when he said that although amending the Constitution is not yet a priority of the Aquino administration, now is the best time to start the discussions because it is not in the shadow of anybody's desire to stay in power. During my term, the PBA Inc. will endeavor to provide you with forums for these discussions. In closing, as you have been observing the many faces of the PBA past presidents as they have been flashed on the screen near the stage, I would like to wax romantic by bringing you to a scene in the film adaptation of the Amistad. It was the eve of the oral arguments before the Supreme Court of the United States over a case where the great John Quincy Adams, a U.S. past president, was preparing to argue for the release to freedom of a group of Africans who were captured and sold to slavery by slave traders. He came face to face with their leader and noticed that the African leader looked sublime. The African warrior chief, with all sincerity, confided to the great white president before him, "In times of adversity, we always summon the spirits of our departed great leaders and dead ancestors, and invariably they come back to help us in our difficulties." John Quincy Adams was visibly moved by the words of the warrior chief as it brought to mind his father, John Adams, the second U.S. president and one of its founding fathers. Tonight, I feel luckier because I need not go and summon the spirits of the PBA founding fathers, for tonight, I have with me, alive and in flesh, many PBA past presidents who will help us face the difficult task ahead. May I ask the indulgence of the PBA past presidents who are here tonight to please stand up. Please, PBA past presidents. To you belong the shining glory of the PBA. Can we have a round of applause? I would like to make special mention to many of my all-weather friends whom I have invited to share with me tonight this important milestone in this journey called life. My classmates in UP Law Class 85, the class which has so far produced 3 PBA presidents, my batchmates from the UP Sigma Rho Batch 81, my classmates from Masat High School Batch 77, my fellow Rotarians from the Golden West, the Rotary Club of Marikina West, my Rotary District Governor Edison Ang and his wife Malen, my fellow members of PETA, board members of PETA, last but not the least, my community in Cottonwoods, Cascades, and Foliage in Antipolo City. Your presence here tonight is my honor. Finally, of course, I would like to thank my dear wife, Vicky, and my 3 beautiful children, Jessie, Mijo, and Sam. Thank you for allowing me to spend precious time away from you in the service of the PBA. You are all my life's inspiration. I would also like to acknowledge my 83-year-old mother who is present here tonight. Thank you, Nanay, for your love and care. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Wow, Manong Po. I hope you will finish your term as PBA President before you are appointed Secretary.